Welcome back to 7997 with your hosts Chris and Jackie. Two United States citizens, former immigrants who left Mexico and are now in Dayton, Ohio. And you're probably saying, why Dayton, Ohio?
Mm-hmm.
From what I heard, the Midwest is terrible and Dayton is the worst of it. That's what they say. But is that really true? You're going to find out a little bit now. So, I guess, why Dayton? Because you were the, what's the word I want to say? The head
Boots
hunter,
on the ground.
Boots on the ground, spearhead. You were here first, checking it out.
Correct.
What kind of made you land in Dayton in the first place?
Mm-hmm. So first of all, and not that this is any disparity to Dayton, it was never my first choice. I've never ever even been to Ohio.
It wasn't like it was on the list and you crossed it off. It was like not even.
It wasn't even a thought.
Yeah.
And during the summertime, and you all know that I was running the event space, the second 14 collective in San Miguel, and it was just a very, very dry season. It was very dead, and it was almost to no money being made.
Yeah.
And it's because it's like we said in our previous episode that San Miguel is a destination city for a lot of people, domestic and international travelers. So that season dried up, the money dried up, the pesos was like adios. And so I was talking to one of my colleagues there on the ground, and she was spearheading a summer camp program for children, and I was like, well, this may be a good opportunity for me to dust off my psychology degree, all that good stuff. So, like, hey, I love working, with folks who need help. I love children. I love, all the things. And so she was like, okay, cool. And then the per diem per week was good and all that. And so it was like, all right, hey, babe, I'm going to go for the summer and then I'll be back.
Right. It kind of started as like a border run. Go clock a whole bunch of dollars for the summer and bring it back.
Mm-hmm.
Typical, immigrant back and forth
behavior.
across the border. You go to one country and make some money and take that money back home where it's worth a little bit more.
Yeah.
So why didn't we just do a border run and then that be the end of it?
So then we started chatting about, I was like, well, okay. First of all, Detroit. I'm looking at your sweatshirt. Doggone you. Dayton is actually not that bad. It was like it's pretty cool here. There are activities. There's art. There's movies. Not movies, but music and entertainment and good food and just like and it was affordable too. Mm-hmm. And we're water people. For those of you who ever grew up around water and you move to a dry town, it does a little something to you, right? Yeah. And so we have been without water for over 20 years. Mm-hmm. And coming back is like, there's water, there are bridges, there are many bridges and many rivers. And it's like this, it felt very...
a little like DC.
It felt a little bit like DC for real. And... So started making connections. So then I started telling Chris, like, hey, what if we did come back and land back here or whatever? Ohio also is the state that brought us our daughter in love. So her family is close by as well. So,
Yeah, they're from... I think where they're from is the perception that many people have of Ohio. Like they're in a very small town, cornfields. It's not even an actual town. It's a village.
It's literally a village.
By census designation. We went there over the Christmas break, and it's not a lot there. Not a lot to do. The town where you go do something is also a town you've never heard of, and it's an hour away from where you were. And it was in the winter, so there was no corn. The fields were just empty. It just felt very desolate. Mm-hmm. If my wife came here and she said this is what Dayton was, I'd be like, no, we're still in Mexico. Mm-hmm. Or we'd be someplace else completely. I would not move to that particular area.
And not that it's bad, because
Yeah.
there are a lot of people that like a farm town. I want my neighbor to be a mile away. Is there people that like that? God bless you.
I do like for my neighbors to be a mile away, but I want everything else to be close.
That guy.
You know.
So having the family connection was good, and also having that that conversation with Chris. Okay, if he came back and worked, was set back up in the U.S., then his salary can have a boost as well. So there were win-win-wins around the board, and then we could not definitely leave out the baby, So our little love bug, Mr. Calvin, came on the scene, and being in Mexico is just like, but being able to be closer, to them and to him, I think was also important.
Yeah, like I don't want this to sound like a go Dayton.com commercial and like Dayton's the greatest thing ever and you got to come here. It's not for everybody. But even like you see us in a different space today, like we've never been in this space before. But the building, the complex we are in, it's called Dayton Arcade as a whole. And we are in the hub at Dayton Arcade, which is a co-working place, which is like 4 levels of co-working space. There's classrooms for the University of Dayton. Attached in the same building, there's retail, there's restaurants, there's an incubator for restaurants called 6888, where if you want to get a restaurant off the ground, they help you do that and give you a small space to start out with. There's a couple of apartment buildings here. Like there's a whole revitalization that's happening in Dayton right now. And it's in the early phase where when you come in, you don't necessarily see all the signs of it. You'll see it in sort of pockets here and there. But I think every city that's kind of had a big downturn and wants to kind of come back and revitalize themselves, they have that period where everything's just a little bit not quite there yet. And I think Dayton is in that space. So, that space, if was always some opportunity in that space.
Yep.
There's always government money coming in, private money coming in, and there's opportunity for things to happen.
Affordable real estate.
Affordable real
right?
estate.
If you do have a business, you want to get it off the ground, kind of thing.
Yeah. So like we're kind of landing in this city at a time where there is a lot of opportunity and a whole lot of room for growth happening. And, if we want to be here and take advantage of it, it feels like a good place to be. So while, we were in Charlotte for a long time and we love Charlotte, Charlotte doesn't have that same sort of place and feel to it.
Oh, the boom is boomed.
If you want to get some boom now, you got to have a whole lot of money.
You got that, yes, indeed, yeah.
So it's nice to kind of be in a space where you can get some support, you can have some opportunity, and you can kind of build something out of nothing. So like if you need a place to come and reset, or a place to like, start over again, really, like this feels like a good place because we're coming back into the U.S. and we kind of have to start over in a lot of ways.
We only have each other and Jesus.
I don't know if it's that bad.
wait. That's not that bad. We have Jesus, but we're sort of kind of starting from scratch.
Yeah.
No, I mean for real.
To some, I have a good enough salary where it doesn't feel like we're working hand to hand and 9 to 5, and we're still week to week and check to check. Don't get it wrong. But we have a few resources to start with, and being here will give us a little bit more of a leg up to kind of make some things happen and move forward. So
and also what I was able to observe over the summertime as I was spying out the land is that there are good professional resources here. Because you had mentioned the city, so there are tons of grants, there are loans, and people. There are good professional cohorts that are here that are rubbing elbows and moving things forward. They just had a new turnover in leadership with a new mayor, and it's a female mayor.
Black female mayor?
Yeah, I actually met her during one of our events for the summer camp. You know what I mean? So it's like you don't necessarily know who you're going to meet, but at that same event this past summer I met the mayor was there, and then the future mayor, you know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like, so it's really cool to see, and a lot of the leadership are homegrown, they aren't transplants, which is nothing wrong with being a transplant, because we are and we will be if that's how we move forward here. But there are a lot of folks who grew up here, and so this is home, so they want to get their home put back in order. And I think that takes a special set of hands to want to do that.
Yeah,
You know?
you see a lot of that here, organizations and people that are just there and willing to help in a lot of different ways. The nonprofit sector here is very busy. We're in a space where you have to revitalize, and big industries left, and there's a hole left there. So there's a lot of place for help and things that need it. And like even us living in our house, it snowed. We had the big foot of snow. Our neighbor came over and like shoveled off our pathway up to the house.
It was so nice.
And like we never met him, we don't know him from anything, and he was just out there, 60 years old, just huffing and throwing snow over his shoulder. He was just,
Thank you, Mr. Ken.
Yeah, that is like an Iowan attitude. Like they're very much community oriented, very friendly.
Yeah.
Everybody says hi, even if they don't want to say hi, they're trained to say hi. So it's a nice place to be, just for some extent. It's like -4 degrees today, so I could do without that, but the warmth of the people kept me warm.
Yeah, and his lunch, his catfish lunch.
Catfish and fried chicken, yeah. So if you want to, get your heart disease going, they got that.
But the one thing I love too is the creativity here. So, meeting the folks here, you have people who are starting grocery stores, who are professional storytellers, and, who are leaders in the college and universities. And so it's really, really cool. It's a cool scene. It really is. And we had mentioned this on the previous video as well. Please, y'all, go check it out. But it's also centrally located. So 1 hour south, you got Cincinnati. Just about 2 hours to the west, I guess, you have Indianapolis. So hour north, you have Columbus. And then, of course, Cleveland. You got basketball, you have football. And, so there are a lot of things that are centrally located here. A good sized airport, which is 15 minutes up the road. Easy in, easy out.
I will say that airport is more expensive than other airports.
Because I think it's one of those it's not regional.
It's not regional.
It's just not.
It doesn't have as many connecting flights. It's it's not being at LAX by any means. But it'll get you where you need to go.
Absolutely.
Generally, you take a quick hour flight to Chicago and then you can go anywhere you want. So you may not have a direct flight from Dayton to where you want to go, but if you get to Chicago, it's a good connector there.
I've flown out of Columbus.
Yeah, Columbus as well. It's a little better in Cincinnati.
Yeah, so just 1 hour, and everyone from major cities, we understand. If you're in D.C., you could drive an hour to Baltimore and get a different flight connection, right? Yeah. So it's a thing, right?
Yeah. So, that is... I don't know if it's the full story of Dayton just yet, as we're kind of just getting started. That's kind of where we are with Dayton, and as we kind of learn more, we'll share more for sure. The city has a lot to offer, and we're just discovering it, and hopefully you'll discover it along with us.
Yeah, but for the ones who watch us often and really know us, we did not move out of duress. The cartel didn't chase us out. Nothing.
El Chapo's not looking for us.
El Chapo, there's nothing going on. We didn't stick up no banks. It was just opportunities, opportunities, and a little creature by the name of Calvin with 4 new teeth. He's so sweet. But that was something I really wanted y'all to know, because I think that's what some of the comments is like, well, why did y'all leave? Why did you, because we were there 3 years. Yeah. That was a good long time, but that was also a good long time for the money to dry up. But life circumstances, we just had to keep spending, and we need to recoup and recalibrate.
So, as always, like, follow, subscribe, hit all the buttons, do all the things. We appreciate you guys' support. Whether you got something positive to say or something negative to say, just say it and keep watching.
I don't agree with any of that. Did we tell them that we were in the arcade?
Yes, we told them about the arcade.
It's called you said the Hub?
Dayton Arcade with the Hub, right. Yes. Yeah.
All right.
We got it.
You going to show them some pictures?
I'll put some footage in there when I was talking about it, yeah.
Oh, he's so nice.
Or I'll forget and I'll just add pictures later, That's how you do
That's actually probably what's going to happen. But y'all be safe, okay? Be safe.
Yeah. Cuídate, Arias Garce. Take care and take a chance. We'll see you guys next time. Peace.